Good morning. My name's Tim Wolf. For those of you that don't know me, I have the good fortune to be the 23rd president for the University of Missouri system, and it's great to be back in my hometown, Columbia, Missouri, as well as my alma mater, University of Missouri. So I'm very excited to be here, but I'm also very excited about what we're announcing today. This, as you know, is the first investment that we're making out of the Enterprise Investment Program. And the Enterprise Investment Program was established a while back, and I'm going to talk to you about how significant this is for the two companies that we're going to announce today, but also how significant this is for potential research moving towards commercialization as quickly as we possibly can, because Missouri is faced with a real challenge in terms of getting more economic development activities occurring, as well as more jobs here in the state of Missouri. Today we're announcing that the University of Missouri system is investing up to $600,000 from our Enterprise Investment Program in two MU Research Team startup ventures. What's exciting about these two that we've picked is one is led by a faculty member and the other by a graduating MBA student. We were just sharing stories about our experience at the business school. My career didn't start as fast as you'll hear his career started, but I'm very excited that we have another wonderful superstar coming out of the University of Missouri, and we play a role in funding his company. I'm sure that we're going to be reading about the success of his company and the success of him for many years to come. Later in the program, you're going to hear from Chancellor Deaton and about these talented researchers. But just before we get Chancellor Deaton up, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about how we got to this particular point in time. The competition for the seed funding from the university was tough and intense. It took about a year for us to evaluate the 16 proposals that were submitted. And the evaluation team, many of which are represented here, included venture capitalists, advisors from not only in the Columbia area but around the country. And we looked at 16 outstanding business plans and selected two as the best and most promising opportunities in which to invest in. It's my understanding that the quality of the ideas from the other 14 applicants were really extraordinary, and if you happen to be one of the applicants here in the room that didn't get funded, I just would challenge you to be thoughtful about the input that was given to you by the advisors as they looked at your proposals, and try again, because I'm happy to say the program will continue to exist, and perhaps you'll be in the next round from a selection standpoint. What's interesting about the Enterprise Investment Program is it's only a handful of these across the country, and it really underscores the university's commitment towards economic development and the support of our very important research mission. And what it allows for, and what I would suggest is very unique in the state of Missouri, is it is a clear path towards creation of jobs. Creation of jobs drives the economy. Economy drives taxpayer dollars, that it gets further back invested in higher education, K through 12, and all the wonderful programs that we have in the state of Missouri. And we are in a race for jobs. And this race for jobs is not U.S. based. This is a global race for jobs. And we're behind. We have got to catch up, and this is our commitment on behalf of the University of Missouri system to help the state of Missouri catch up in this race for jobs. But I'll tell you what, this investment program, the Enterprise Investment Program, wasn't a slam dunk. Many of you remember that President Forsey, my predecessor, announced this with the help of Mike Nichols, our Vice President for Research and Economic Development. On the front row, you're going to hear from Mike as well. They announced the creation of the university's Enterprise Investment Program in the midst of an economic downturn, I guess would be a nice way of saying what occurred when they made this announcement. And they stuck to that commitment in terms of carving out some monies that were available to stimulate this kind of research and fund these exciting companies. The other challenge that we had was not just from a funding standpoint, but there are other challenges in terms of getting these initiatives off the ground that are unique to public sector. Specifically, intellectual property. So we have an issue in terms of ownership for intellectual property, and again, thanks to Mike's leadership and people on his team, Paul Volcker and others, what we did was we created some language that students have the ownership for intellectual property rights for inventions they develop while studying on any one of our 4 university campuses. We believe we're the first university in the country to offer students this no-strings-attached approach towards invention. So what does that say to a prospective student or prospective parent of students? And by the way, I'm a prospective parent of students. My twins have been, thanks to Brady and his leadership team, we wanted to tour the University of Columbia campus, and the tour started on Monday and it's still going on. And every day, I swear to God, every day they come back and say, you can't believe what we saw today. Yesterday was the business school. Before that it was the Bond Life Science Center. Today it's KMU, the TV station, the J School. And they are just ecstatic. Now they're so confused in terms of what they want to major in. But the one thing that's lasting is they're really, really excited about the University of Missouri, and we're also going to be looking at the other 3 campuses. But what that says to a prospective parent or a prospective student, as you know, students are coming to our campuses with wonderful ideas already in place. And some of them, believe it or not, have already commercialized these ideas. They're getting websites off the ground. They're starting businesses. It's just exciting to talk to these students and what they've done in their high school years. And they're looking at building on these ideas that they've already established. Well, the promise that we make to them that is unique to the University of Missouri system is if you come here and you're bringing ideas here or you're creating the ideas while you're on campus, guess what? They're yours. No strings attached. That's pretty powerful. If that is what you want to do in your career, and if that is what potentially your interests are, knowing that you have the ability to create something that has potential commercialization opportunity, and know that it is yours, and it's up to you to promote this and build it out and collaborate with others. So that's very, very exciting. That decision led to the Kauffman Foundation recognizing the University of Missouri system as one of 3 commercialization leaders in the United States. And that's pretty good company. If you, the other 2 are Carnegie Mellon and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. That's pretty good company. And that is the kind of group of people of our peer group that we want to run with, because we do have this potential, and being recognized with those 2 fantastic institutions suggests that we're doing the right thing and we need to do more of it. In addition to the intellectual property challenges that we had facing us, President Forsey and Mike also worked with the legislature to change the Sunshine Law so that businesses could work with higher education and making sure that the proprietary or intellectual property or whatever comes out of that conversation is protected. And that's a challenge when you think about it, is if you want to collaborate with a higher ed institution that's public in the state of Missouri, the Sunshine Laws, as they were formally written, suggested that all that information was accessible by the public, and you certainly would limit your conversation if in fact you had some sort of proprietary advantage or had some concept or idea. Mike and his leadership got those laws changed, so now that we can have conversations about what the potential is for this particular innovation or this particular idea, knowing that that's protected. Again, that was a huge move, and I thank Mike for leading that charge as well. And one of the outcomes of having these Sunshine Laws in the state of Missouri is it motivates businesses to work with private colleges, because private colleges aren't under the Sunshine Law purview, so they can do more joint development work, joint research, and have collaboration and ideas and understand that it's protected. So what it's doing is freeing up the power and the potential of the public universities that we have as part of the University of Missouri system. As I alluded to earlier, this Enterprise Investment Fund was announced at a very difficult time, but we were convinced that if in fact we want to play our leadership role that we should be playing as a land-grant research institution in the state of Missouri, if we're to play that leadership role, we have to stick to our guns and we have to figure out a way to continue to fund these investments. And we protected that funding of the Enterprise Investment Program, and also got with some other investors and businesses that were willing to work with our researchers to make sure that not just the funding that was available from the University of Missouri system, but other funding was in place to fund these startups in the right form and fashion, so that gives them the highest degree, highest potential for success. So thanks to this vision that President Forsey and Mike started, what we have now is, we believe, a more fertile ground for research and collaboration, and an entrepreneurial climate that's supported by first-of-a-kind breakthroughs like student-owned IP, the tools to protect confidential business information with what we've done with the Sunshine Laws, university research that moves from lab to the marketplace, because now we have a process in which to take a wonderful idea and get it to the public, or get to a commercialized state much quicker. And what we've created out of this experience should be replicated over and over and over again. And that should suggest that more great ideas should be stimulated, more companies or startups should come out of this process. And the good thing is, everything that we've done here with these two great companies, all that work and all that process can be done on all 4 of our campuses. And we're pleased to announce that the university, through its enterprise investment program, is investing in the following companies. Up to $400,000 in HLB Horizons LLC, a company that will use a new process developed at MU to manufacture a chemical compound used in semiconductors and rechargeable batteries, which is a huge marketplace. Up to $200,000 in Eternogen, a company that has created a longer-lasting cosmetic skin filler. In addition, one of the key objectives of our investment in these startup ventures is to help attract additional investment in the state and from other investors. So I'm also pleased to announce, on top of this, that Eternogen, I'll get it right, Louise, appreciate it, could potentially receive up to $100,000 from the Missouri Technology Corporation IDEA funds, and an additional $200,000 from Mid-Missouri Centennial Investors, a local angel investment group created by the Columbia Chamber of Commerce. Again, what you're seeing is an intersection of the higher ed with local investors as well as the City of Columbia. So when we're getting all these investment communities together to focus on great research and great innovation, wonderful things come out of it. To fully capture this funding, both of these teams must successfully achieve milestones along the product commercialization path established by the university and other investors. So again, we're putting some discipline into challenging these businesses to achieve certain milestones, and so that they can earn the incremental funding. This investment exemplifies the University of Missouri's commitment to advancing the state's economy. These 2 businesses alone have the potential to blossom into billion-dollar enterprises or more. And these billion-dollar businesses based here in Missouri will bring an estimated 175 jobs in the next 5 years. Now, before I turn the program over to Mike Nichols to introduce you to our winning companies, I'd like to make 2 final comments. First, I'd like to congratulate our first Enterprise Investment Program recipients. I also invite all the qualifying researchers that have put proposals in previously. Please don't stop. Keep maturing your solutions and your proposals going forward. For those researchers that are out there in the audience, or students that are thinking about some great research ideas that they're looking at opportunities for commercialization, I challenge you to be a participant in the next round of the Enterprise Investment Fund. The next application period for EIP funding will be March 1st through May 31st. And qualifying and other information about the program can be found on our website, which is www.umeip.com. Secondly, I'd like to thank the incredible team that has led and supported this program. Much credit to Mike Nichols, our Vice President of Research and Economic Development, the advisory board members that helped us in the selection of these 2 companies, specifically Centennial Investors need to be called out. Matt Volkert from our legal team that has done a wonderful job in working on like the Sunshine Law and other contractual agreements that are in place that we can use over and over and over again as we continue to fund more of these great innovation and ideas and companies. Obviously, a big thanks to President Forsey for his commitment and continual backing of this investment the Enterprise Investment Program. I really appreciate you joining us today, and I'd like to now turn the program over to Mike Nichols, and you'll be able to meet the program funding recipients in more detail. Also, after you meet the leaders of these research teams, I've asked Chancellor Deaton to share some less well-known but very important perspectives on other research that's occurring at the University of Missouri, and then we'll be happy to take questions after. Without further ado, Mike Nichols.
Thanks, Tim. Well, good morning, everyone. Boy, is this a great day, I'll tell you. Yay! And I say that, you know, having been a student and coming up with IP and things like that, and starting the companies over the years, and you know, it's just amazing to hear all of the great research that's going on in the University of Missouri and not have mechanisms to get it out to the commercial markets. And this is one of the things that we sat down about a year ago or so. Warren Erdman, past chair of the Board of Curators, Gary Forsey and myself, and said, how can we do this? How can we make this happen? And we have the wherewithal, we thought, to be able to pull this off, and we are. And that's the beautiful thing about it. You know, this proof of concept stage where these people come to us and say to us, you know, we need some help here, and you know, it's at the highest risk. The money's going out at the highest risk at that point in time. You can't just go get a loan from the bank because you really have intellectual property. You don't have hard assets, and so why would they take a security interest in that? But you know, this is part of an overall program we have that I've talked about before, where we have innovation, we have investments, and we have infrastructure. All three of those things become the pillars to create economic development in society. And we are supporting all three of those through the University of Missouri's efforts. One of the things that we do for innovation is the spinal cord injury program. We also work with the research board itself to support new young faculty members to get them on their way, moving down this research to commercialization pipeline. It takes thousands and thousands of ideas to get one of those out, and we're supporting it all along the way. We're really a unique investor in this sense, and that we are not looking for a return on investment so much as a return of our investment that we make initially. And we do that so that we can attract other outside investments from the community, the state, and also outside the state of Missouri itself through other seed and venture groups. We look at this as one of those things where, you know, you're going to see the return down the road, because these companies have licenses that they've secured with the University of Missouri, and through those licenses there are royalties that flow back to the university, and those royalties are used for further research, for further commercialization efforts like these. We anticipated that EIP would not only help promising companies like this in initial stages, but it would also influence these other investors. That if the university had skin in the game, they would also do the same, and that's what's happened already. I can't say enough for the people who were part of the advisory panel. These people took upon their own efforts and expense many times to come out and help evaluate these proposals and let us de-risk them as much as possible. And that's taken more time than we thought, actually. But in fact, I think we've done done it the right way, okay? By bringing in expertise from outside to help our young companies get off to a very good start. We think that many of the goals that we set out in some of the early meetings between Gary and Warren and myself really have been met now. You know, we've actually got some companies, you know, kind of come out of this pipeline. You know, it's really interesting when you think about it, the mentoring that it takes place in order to make this happen. And I can't say enough for people in my group, and especially, as Tim said earlier, Matt Volkert has just done a yeoman's job. Matt, raise your hand. I think you're out here somewhere. There he is. Okay, and Scott Ullman from my office. These people have been instrumental in being able to pull that together. Well, now on to the two recipients, because that's what you really like to hear. You don't want to hear me, right? HLB Horizons is a new company with a vision to create nothing short of a global renaissance. Right here in boron chemistry, and becoming the world's largest and most profitable manufacturer of the polyhedral boranes. What does that mean? Okay. We'll let Mark tell you later, and Fred. But let me just say that, you know, as Tim mentioned before, this really has applications in semiconductor chemistry, defense, nuclear materials, nanomaterials, and biomedical industries in general. The company, founded by Fred Hawthorne, Mark Lee, and Satish Jalasaki, are scientists at the University of Missouri, and they're housed just right next door in a beautiful facility. We're proud to extend our first investment, $400,000 to HLB Horizon, and are looking forward to the success and working with them and moving forward that company. And at this time, I would like to ask Mark to come up and tell us a little bit more about the company. Mark?
Good morning. I'm Mark Lee, and I'm the president and CEO of HLB Horizons. But I must warn you, I'm also an assistant professor here, and when I get a captive audience in a room like this, my first inclination is to delve into an hour-long lecture on chemistry. So in everyone's best interest, I think I'll try to fight that urge today. Today marks a beginning in many ways. However, the story really began about 6 years ago with the founding of the International Institute of Nanomolecular Medicine here on the campus. And we've received the steadfast support of the university for this entire time. A lot of innovation has ensued since the inception of the Institute, including the technology that is the basis of our company today. So I would describe that this technology is actually the first of much to come from this new institute. What we've done is created a new synthetic route to, as Mike suggested, the polyhedroborines and carboranes. These are an extraordinary family of chemicals, and they have use today in the manufacture of semiconductors and large-scale lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. However, there are many potential applications for these materials, and these include defense purposes, homeland security, nuclear, high-performance polymers, and many potential applications in medicine, which is really my passion. But until now, the widespread use of these materials has been hindered by the technology used to produce them. Invariably, these current processes use a material called diborane, which is an extremely toxic gas that also spontaneously explodes in air. Not a good combination for a material if you want to make something out of it. And because of owing to the hazardous nature of this material, the current processes use very small scales to produce these materials, leading to exorbitant pricing. Some of these materials actually cost more than their weight in gold. So one can imagine that a company producing these materials could be quite successful. This new process developed at MU does not use diborane. In fact, we use a very common chemical that's really an industrial bulk chemical that's produced in hundreds of thousands of tons. It's quite safe. Our process is much, much safer and scalable and environmentally friendly. In fact, by far, the major byproduct of our process is sodium chloride, or table salt. Our company expects to begin production using this new process here in Missouri this year. And I'm here to express our company's sincere appreciation for the support from the EIP program and from the university for supporting this research initially. Over the past year, we've been approached by several venture capital firms interested in the technology. However, I can say that invariably if we were to pursue traditional startup funding routes, this technology would be commercialized offshore, and almost certainly not in mid-Missouri. In fact, our company is swimming counter-current in many ways, in that most new chemical enterprises being commercialized today are being done so in China. So to propose a new chemical enterprise, really to launch a new industry in chemistry here in mid-Missouri, is quite revolutionary. And through the EIP program, we now have the opportunity to do just that, commercialize this technology here, and we look forward to accomplishing this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You know, and what he said about doing it here, you know, that creates that critical mass, and that's one of the things you need if you're actually going to grow an economic development, you know, ecosystem, and that's really, really important. It's interesting too when I think back a little bit. Brady and I had conversations when Fred was coming, and he said, "Get those patents," from UCLA, which we did. So, and there's been many more after that. So, it's kind of interesting how this has all come through, and what foresight Brady had. Our other recipient is Eternigen, and some might say it's on the complete opposite spectrum in a way. A young medical device company who's focused on design and manufacturing novel nanomaterial that are soft tissue therapeutic products. The vision of the company is to provide superior regenerative solutions for a variety of minimally invasive surgical applications by leveraging expertise in both applied nanotechnology and soft tissue engineering. The company's first product, we believe, will be a long-lasting biocompatible dermal filler that will last twice as long as the market leader and pose much, much less risk to the user. The company was a direct result of Mizzou's biodesign program that started a few years back. And the company was founded by Luis Jimenez, he's going to get up and talk in a second, Rebecca Rohn, and Dr. Ron Bussender. We're really proud to say that they were one of the people that popped out at the end. Coming from a biodesign program like that, where we're putting together someone from the engineering school, somebody from the business school, and somebody from medical surgery, and looking at all the problems that are out there. And again, thousands of ideas pop out, usually of the research and commercialization pipeline, one or two ideas. And this was one of those, one of the best ones that came out. We're excited to extend the $200,000 to them, and also with the outside investments, that, as Tim mentioned earlier. You know, that type of cooperation is what it takes to again, feed that ecosystem, to make this grow, to provide the critical mass that we need to move forward. So at this time, Louis, would you come up and tell us a little bit about Eternogen?
At this point in time, I would like to ask my team to actually come up with me here because it's part of the message that I have here today. As they stand up here, I would like to thank you for being here today. My name again is Luis Jimenez, and I'm the CEO of Eternogen. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here today as we announce our investment and inauguration of our entry into the small business community of Columbia, Missouri. And now let me share with you a quote from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The fraction of employment accounted for by business startups in the U.S. private sector over the 1980s to 2005 period is about 3% per year. It's about 3% per year. This exceeds the 1.8% average annual net employment growth. This pattern implies that job destruction exceeds job creation at existing businesses and highlights the importance of business startups for job creation in the U.S. economy. And now I'd like to share an interpretation of that. In my account, I could say that 100% of net new jobs created in the United States have been by small business startups. Eternogen meets that definition of a business startup. Eternogen is a biotech venture that specializes in nanoengineering, biological, collagen scaffolds that stimulate regeneration and last longer than commercial products. It has been in operation since 2009, and that is a story that has been briefly shared today. But I also wanted to emphasize the vision of providing soft tissue regenerative solutions that include wound healing. For example, someone who has been a victim of fires, hemostatic agents. For example, someone in a combat zone who has got an injury from a gun shot, or also orthopedic reconstructive applications. For example, someone who has had a broken bone. Today we launch our first application, a dermal filler engineered for superior performance, better risk-reward profile, and tailored for the biological stimulatory effects of regeneration. We have the ability to functionalize gold nanoparticles to purified collagen. And in order to manufacture an injectable dermal filler with the properties that I mentioned. This target market is booming as the baby boomers spread the longing to stay young and beautiful, and I must say there's nothing wrong with that. By way of introduction, my name is Luis Jimenez again. I'm a Crosby MBA alumni, and I have a background in chemical engineering, and I do share the message previously shared about the lament of seeing our industry going to other places. I share two important passions with my team here today. We have a passion for entrepreneurship and a passion to address the healthcare related and medical needs through biotechnology. As I thank the contributors and tell the story of Eternogen, I would like to paint a picture of a revolution, if I can call it that, of entrepreneurial activity happening here in Columbia.
So from the foundation and growth, I must mention the MU Biodesign program, which is only comparable to very little programs in the United States. In fact, one of the closest ones in the program is Stanford. And like Mike mentioned, there's 3 people in that program for 1 year exposed to the ER, exposed to the hospital emergency rooms and everything else that comes with, you know, being part of the healthcare unit. So Rebecca Roan was one of them, and she was representing the engineering part. She's a master's in engineering, concentration in tissue engineering, and experience in orthopedic device designs. And there was Anthony Harris, who's a MD, MBA, and he was actually representing the MBA part of the innovation team. And there was Jonathan Thompson, who was actually the physician. So these people, in collaboration with Dr. Grant's and David Grant's biological engineering department here at the University of Missouri, collaborated in developing this technology, and in fact, also applying for a patent that protects the technology. Now we move on to the development side. About 1.5 years ago, the current managers all came together. So Rebecca Roan is our current Chief Scientific Officer. I have been brought on board as a Chief Executive Officer as I was starting the MBA coursework. So I've been able to juggle both things, and I can say that I'd like to invite more people to do that. It's a fun task. And our latest addition is exceptional. Ron Basuner, he's a PhD in genetics, has experience in over 4 startups already, has a postdoc from Purdue University, and is, you know, the talented experience in biotechnology manufacturing. Now we collaborate with the dermatological surgery department to really engineer a product that meets the needs in the cosmetic and reconstructive surgery, and that's where you have the dermal filler. As part of this kind of interaction, we also have been mentored by Innovate VMS, who are a group in St. Louis who are multiple business professionals who lend their time to, you know, really encourage us to entrepreneurs to succeed. And Joe Sorgan has also been part of the law firm who has been helping us and, you know, providing that support that we need. I must add that the part of the development, the core part of it, happened in this room. And it's been also a big cause of the Missouri Innovation Center. It was actually the business plan that we just mentioned was an output of the High Growth Venture launch class. And we won that competition with students. And we went to the richest and largest business plan competition in the world. And that was Rice Business Plan competition. With that as well, we went to Investment West, which is the biggest venture capitalist conference in the Midwest for real, you know, attention to venture capitalist opportunities. I wanted to make a special thanks to the University of Missouri with this Enterprise Innovation Program. Dr. Nichols, Scott Ullman, Matt Volker all have been instrumental in developing us, helping us mature. And also the Missouri Technology Corporation, who have been supporting us in getting that additional funding with Bill Anderson, and the private equity investors, Centennial Investors, and, you know, really specifically David Keller, who has taken a commitment to try to drive economic development through their own private investment, which is huge. You know, part of that group is also the Student Angel Capital Fund, and if you wonder what in the world is that, it's actually students who are multifunctional, multitask, multi-skill sets, putting them all together to actually evaluate investments and allocate real money. So back to our technology, our ability to tailor our technology to particular needs gives us the immense growth potential. With the funds from the EAP program, we receive more than seed capital to develop the technology. As previously mentioned, we actually get validation of the merit of our technology, and we're soon here looking at the fruits of that. I will conclude with a message. The quote I mentioned in the beginning attests to the need for new ventures and growth of innovation in this country. For over 12 years, the bulk of new job creation has been emerged from the new companies. In this program, our story should be a stimulant to the latent entrepreneurial capacity of scientists, engineers, and innovators for the University of Missouri to take an extra step to commercialize their technologies. This program, the Enterprise Investment Program, attests to the fact that it is embraced. This idea is embraced and is vital for the long-term sustainability of this country, this great state of Missouri, and for the university system. The only way to achieve this is through identification, exploitation, and continual pursuit of collaborative, synergistic relationships. What I mean by this is that it takes a team with multifunctional skills to achieve this objective. It takes the honest review of one's own skill set and the active pursuit of complementary skills to form such a team. One slice of the pie is better than no pie at all. And so I would like to tell people to seek collaboration, share your knowledge, and enable your technologies to transform the world. We're extremely excited for this great opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to share our story through the next days to come as we aggressively seek the commercialization of this innovative biotechnology through Eternogen. Thank you. Thank you, my team here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Louis. We're looking forward to it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Brady Deaton. And I just want to say for a minute that Brady's leadership and support of all of our entrepreneurial and commercialization efforts have really made a change, you know, in the way things are done around here. We go back, there's a culture here now to do this where there wasn't before. And I think that's a test to his leadership in those aspects. So, Brady?
Mike, thanks very much, and good morning, everyone. It's really the fruition of so much that we see here today. And Mike, I commend you and your team for what you've achieved. And as we look to the future, Tim, you laid it out there. It's very exciting. And I saw Bruce Walker back there. Bruce, you got to feel good after what you've done with the College of Business here, and able to see these students step forward. Luis, it's just a real thrill. And Rebecca, I can tell you, it touches me to see the products of what a great university is come to fruition in a way that's going to make a great difference in the world. And it's just a pleasure for me to be here to add my congratulations to Drs. Lee and Hawthorne for their accomplishments, and Luis Jimenez and your team for this kind of tremendous bringing together the best of knowledge, the best of transfer technology into job creation. This program, the investment fund that's created here, and this program of innovation and creativity, bringing together the best talents of our scientific faculty across the board, our engineering faculty and our business expertise with the community of Columbia, and thanks to all of you for being here to help us celebrate today. It's just a great example of how the state of Missouri, the city of Columbia, is benefiting from the work of this university, and we are very proud of that. And I want to take a moment just to put it in context, and as I congratulate you and what you have accomplished. You've heard the way that the University of Missouri is among the very elite in the nation, this innovation approach that we're undertaking, and we appreciate the work of Kauffman and supporting us along with Carnegie Mellon and University of North Carolina to take these very, very important steps forward. And when I look at what we do on an ongoing basis, I'm like Tim Wolf's children, I think. I look at it, I just can't believe it. You know, every time I look at it, I go, oh my gosh, really, that's just amazing, even though I've been here now more than a couple of years and have absorbed these facts over time. But if you look at the knowledge creation expenditures of this university, just very narrowly, what we do in research and innovation and related expenditures to getting this out, $400 million a year, $400 million in 2010. That's about $8 million a week charging into this economy. If you did nothing with it except throw it out there, it'd relate, Andrew, to a lot of expenditures in this community that are very important. In this case, we're doing much more than that, of course, with the great scientific work that we see taking place and the ability to put it into enterprises that are truly job creating. Through that research, that $400 million that I talked about, MU has filed, if you look at the last 3 years, if you look at the 2004-2007 period, and then look at 2008 to 2011, there's been a 6-fold increase in commercialization deals here at this university, so that MU has filed, for example, 278 patents and signed 204 options and licenses for new technology developed from this university. And these are a driving force in what we're doing in research. They're a driving force in how we're creating and shaping the minds of our students as they look to the future, and can bring that creative activity to bear across the many disciplines. And we're celebrating that interdisciplinary work as well with the Mizzou Advantage Thrust that we have ongoing here at the university. So you can't look at this enterprise, in spite of the challenge of our budget, the state funding, you cannot look at it without just being terribly optimistic about the future. And if you look at why that's occurring, Here at this university, this scientific knowledge is in the classroom from the freshman classes forward. And that's very important. It's been recognized by NSF for that kind of innovation that has been brought to bear at this university. Our faculty publish more than 1,500 books and scholarly articles each year. That's the really bedrock, Fred. That's the foundation that you and Mark contribute to, and that our faculty across this university contribute to. Without that, this other doesn't occur. This occurs, what we're doing here today is celebrating that marginal thrust of excellence that we see. Those faculty, in addition, attract multi-million-dollar research grants that bring new money and jobs to the state that add up to that $400 million I talked about earlier. And in their spare time, faculty lead major international organizations and professional associations. They're research fellows that work with professional organizations like the National Academy of Science that Fred Hawthorne occupies. They serve as the editors, the thought leaders of our major academic journals in the United States, that fount of knowledge that leads us to be the kind of leading nation that we are today. That is challenged, Luis. I agree with you 100%. They win the major honors of the academic world that are so vital to building that knowledge base for the future. So, remembering that foundation, looking at the achievements here today, it's a very, very exciting prospect as we look to the future. And so I congratulate you, those of you that are receiving these awards, the first of their kind from the MU system, of the University of Missouri system, and illustrative of how we can make a profound contribution to the future development of our community, our state, indeed our nation, and the global society. So again, congratulations. Great to be with you. And Mike, again, congratulations for the accomplishment.
Well, thank you, Brady. And now that concludes the main portion of the press conference. There are going to be some hors d'oeuvres and things like that out in the hallway there. Jake Holliday, you can hold up. He's also offered to give some tours. I really encourage you, if you haven't done that, to take a tour of the facility. It's a fantastic facility. Again, it's part of those pillars to drive economic development. This is the infrastructure type pillar. This is driven by the campus, driven by people like Jake, and it's very successful. He told me this morning there's 24 businesses in here.
24, but you'll see some of the facility, but more importantly, you'll meet and talk with two of the young CEOs of two of the enterprises.
Very good. And many of them come off the campus itself and come down here.
Vast majority.
Yeah, and that's really the remarkable part of it. And also, if you put it in perspective around the country, most incubators don't fill up like this one has. So that shows you the kind of inertia that we have here in Columbia itself, and the fact that we're putting together programs to keep people like this in Columbia and grow more jobs. And I think this is the kind of economic development which is called technology-based economic development that we all sought for many years, and it's happening now. So I appreciate all of you coming out and enjoying this fine afternoon, which the blinds are closed, but it's pretty nice out there, and with us. And we look forward to more announcements in the future and bigger and brighter things. So thank you very much.